What is going on? Matt O'Leary back with another video today, and I want to talk about 5 potential replacements for Elijah Moore. The Jets have traded Elijah Moore and a 3rd round pick to the Cleveland Browns for a 2nd round pick. So now, before the Aaron Rodgers trade, they own pick 13, 42, and 43 in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. But they now have a hole at the wide receiver position because it's pretty much Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson, and Mecole Hardman as your big 3 or your top 3 guys right now. So you probably need a replacement for Elijah Moore. So what I wanted to do, I have 5 guys on this list that you can straight up sign, acquire via trade, and maybe I'll leave the last one up to guessing for now. The first one, this guy's been heavily connected to the New York Jets, a lightning rod player, if that doesn't give it away. I am talking about Odell Beckham Jr. He is now 30 years old. He did not play in the 2022 season due to a torn ACL. He has 2 torn ACLs in the last 3 seasons. He is one of the more polarizing guys. You have guys who absolutely love him. You guys who have absolutely can't stand him. I see the fit to an extent after moving on from Elijah Moore, but there are some things about his game that rub me the wrong way. One is the injuries not necessarily rub me the wrong way, but it's just that you have to take into account that he's, he played 7 games, 14 games, and 0 games over the last 3 years. When he's on the field, he's a pretty good player, even at this point in his career. I mean, during the Rams playoff run, in 4 games, he had 288 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is nice. He is also a massive headache. Like, if we're just going to completely ignore all the off-the-field stuff, I don't think you can do that. And it's not like, is it a huge deal? Do people do a hell of a lot worse things than Odell Beckham Jr. in the NFL? Yes. Is he annoying? Also yes. He's a little bit of a head case. Projected cost, I'm going to guess 8 to 12 million, somewhere in that range would be his cost on a phantom 1-year deal. I don't know how he gets a long-term deal after the injuries, but this is not my preferred route, especially too because everyone's like, not everyone, but a big chunk of people on Jets Twitter is like, yeah, they moved on from Elijah Moore because he was a malcontent. And then you're going to sign like OG malcontent Odell Beckham. I don't know. That doesn't really add up to me. But, Aaron Rodgers likes him. There's no denying that he's an electric guy. He's exciting. He'd bring a lot of content, but that's not my preferred route that the Jets go. The next guy is a trade target for the New York Jets, and that is DeAndre Hopkins, who at this point is 31. He did serve a suspension last year, but in 9 games when he was on the field, still damn good player, 717 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is he, number 1 receiver in the league, DeAndre? No, and neither is, Odell. It's not 2015, 2016 anymore. But DeAndre is still a serviceable player. Supposedly, Arizona wants a 2nd round pick for him, but Albert Breer does not think they are going to get a 2nd rounder. I also don't think they're going to get a 2nd round pick for him. So what do you say? 112? Supposedly Albert Breer is saying like, hey, look towards the Cooks deal in what he got, which was a 5th this year and a pick next year. I think a 6th. I think it was a 5th and a 6th for Cooks. He also, Cooks, that is, had to rework his contract after getting traded. I would imagine Hopkins is kind of in that same boat, who might need to have his contract altered for the acquiring team. But I'm all about like Hopkins, Wilson, Lazard, Hardman. That's a pretty nice top 4 wide receivers, if you ask me. I'd be on board with that, depending on the price. Next guy on the list is also a trade target, and that is Mike Evans from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is now 30 years old, but is one of the most productive receivers of the last decade. He has 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He's coming off an 1,100-yard season with 6 touchdowns. Obviously, Tampa Bay is going through a transition period. They brought in Baker Mayfield. They have Kyle Trask. They are tanking for Caleb Williams. That is the plan. We know that is what they want to do. So does he want to sit there and waste a prime year of his career going through a tank? Maybe he does. He spent his first 9 years with an organization, and maybe he wants to see out the rest of his career there, and I would respect that. But if he is traded, I could also see that happening. He would have to rework his contract as well. It would be a massive dead cap hit for this year if they were to trade him. So I would imagine that he's got to get that contract redone. He would definitely cost a second-round pick, I think, because, again, there's just year after year, the guy puts up 1,000 yards. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's putting up 1,000 yards. So even if he sticks there and Kyle Trask is the quarterback, he probably has a pretty good chance to put up 1,000. And, man, Evans and Garrett Wilson and Lazard and Hardman, you can sell me on that too. I think you're definitely not picking in the second round if you are trading for Rodgers and also trading for Mike Evans, but oh boy, that does sound like an exciting wide receiver room for the Jets. Next up is another wide receiver on the trade block, and that is Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. He is 27 years old now at this point in his career. He worked with Nathaniel Hackett last year. Nathaniel Hackett also is known to like bigger wide receivers. He is 6'4", 216, and is coming off a season that saw him put up 829 receiving yards and a couple of touchdowns. They did not have a ton of passing touchdowns. Russell Wilson only had 16 on the year, so it's not like he's put up massive numbers, but he's a solid, pretty much a number 2 option, and would, I think, complement Garrett Wilson. Similar in a sense to Alan Lazard, though, with the size and the big body, but that does allow you to get creative with Garrett Wilson, who they like both on the inside and outside, and Alan Lazard technically could also play inside like a big slot and have him chip in blocking as well, which is something important. Now, he has 3 years left on his deal, but only 1 more year comes with guaranteed money. So you could get out of it pretty much at any time with very little damage after that. But his cap hit, I think, is, you're looking at somewhere in the mid-teens, 14, 15 million a year for him. Really solid, which I would be a fan of. I think you're probably having to move a second, maybe if they don't have a third, so I would say maybe a third. But if you can get him for 112, do it. But I think it would be more than that, to be honest with you, with his contract and his age. And finally, the last guy on this list. Could they just keep Corey Davis? Corey Davis is 28 years old, and he has not been cut yet. He has not been included in the Aaron Rodgers trade, at least as of recording this. His cap hit is $11.2 million, and he is one of the more interesting wide receivers on this New York Jets team over the last few years. He's had some really nice moments, and Aaron Rodgers did talk him up. He likes Corey Davis. But last year, 536 yards, 2 touchdowns in 13 games. He misses a ton of games due to injury. For this past year and the year prior was 8 games that he missed. Drops, penalties could be extremely frustrating. But at the same time, he's had some pretty massive and clutch moments for this team. The Browns game, the 4th down against Minnesota. He had a big moment earlier. The first game of the 2021 season in Carolina. You also had the Tennessee game where he had a 1 or 2 touchdown catches in that game, but it was a huge factor in that one as well. I like Corey Davis, but I think you're better off moving on and trying one of these other 4 guys above that. But let me know your take. Who do you want to come in and replace Elijah Moore as a wide receiver on this Jets team? Sound off below. I'm Matt. I'll catch you next time.